Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Tuesday. I'm cold, which makes this the perfect day to tell you about what I have to tell you about because I have it in my lap and it's making me warm. You know, I didn't stop and think about it an hour ago when I realized I was cold, but I think that I got used to a baseline of wearing a wool dress every day, and that layer, even though it is such a light fabric. I mean, really, really light fabric. That layer really does keep you warm. And so here I am, I'm wearing a blouse and it's not cutting it, or at least it's not cutting it at what the thermostat's set at. Hmm. Food for thought. I do still wear my dress quite frequently. I wore it yesterday, and I've started wearing my new one, the blue Mara, which is the sweatshirt dress. And I wore it on Sunday for the Good Vibes live show, which was really fun. For those of you guys who are in the Good Vibes Yarn Tour and were there, thank you so much. I had such a good time. But yeah, wearing that wool layer every day, it was keeping me warm, and now I'm cold. So that ought to show me. Trying to get my tea to cool down enough to not burn myself. Hi, everybody. Let's check out the comments. Christy, Mary, Miss Julia, Sarah, Margot, Naomi, Z, Heidi. Oh, yes, Patty, Sharon, hello. It does work as a really good base layer of warmth. Julia did the challenge too. She was chiming in there. Yeah, dancing a jig. Christy shared the most amazing Celtic playlist today in the Knit Camp group for those of us knitting on the Fiad sweater, and I had to listen to it right away because it is a lot of stuff I used to listen to all the time. Back in my 20s, right before I went to grad school. I lived in Northeast Portland. I actually lived just around the corner from Jen Gower of Jam PTX, and it just kills me that we were essentially neighbors. In fact, we also worked downtown, virtually next door to each other. It's so funny. But of course, didn't know each other at the time in Portland. Anyway, so I lived by this pub called the County Cork Pub, and I loved that place. And my husband and I would walk over there and we would either, get a pint or we would eat. And they had, like the most amazing soda bread, and they had live music every weekend. And I felt like such a wannabe hangers on. I just felt like I loved that place and I felt at home there. And so fast forward, we moved. We left Portland, went to Tucson to go to grad school, and when I'm down in Tucson, I started digging into genealogy stuff. I got super into it. And so I came to find out, and some of you have heard the story of my triple great grandmother. Like if you ever attended one of our fiber festivals, you might have heard about this. But I came to find out that I have ancestors that come from County Cork. And when I found that out, you should have seen like the top of my head blow off. I was like, oh, well, of course I wanted to live in that pub. It was the County Cork pub. I mean, it really brought it home. It was really great. I got to dig in. And so my triple great grandmother, she emigrated from County Cork when she was 14 by herself, went to New York, stayed with an uncle briefly, and then got hired on to nanny for a family. The husband of the family was a officer in the army stationed at Fort Dalles here in the Pacific Northwest. So that's, for those of you who aren't familiar, Fort Dalles was a major army fort in the 1800s on the Columbia River. And so the wife of this officer and children were still in New York, but they were going to be moving out west to join him where he was stationed at this, new outpost, basically. So she got hired to nanny for them, and she sailed with them on a multi-month journey around the tip of South America. And she kept a diary that entire time, and she also saved mementos from the trip, like the tack they were served on the ship. She wrote about seeing all of the sailors at the port of calls, like in San Diego, when they would stop at places. I mean, she had an extensive diary. And basically when I started doing this, my genealogy stuff, I found out all of this stuff is saved. It's actually just, it's an exhibit at a local museum. uh, Family sometime way back had donated all of her stuff. They had published her diary into a little booklet that you could buy. And and I had never, none of us had ever been told. Nobody talked about it. It was ridiculous. Her name was Mary Piggott. And her wedding dress is even there. And I'm telling you guys, the waist of that thing is about this big around. She was about 4'10" and just tiny, tiny, tiny. I think she had 9 kids. And her wedding dress is a green plaid. It's beautiful with a tatted collar, a lace collar. Um, and I took a picture of it. I went to see this museum when I found out I was back visiting from Arizona, and I went to the museum and I saw the exhibit. Her original sampler, her cross stitch sampler that she did, is there. It's nice and big, and tack from the trip, literally crackers. That's what I mean by tack. These hard crackers that she had saved from the voyage around South America. What else is there? Just amazing stuff. Oh, and I believe her marriage certificate is there because her marriage, she eventually married another officer stationed there, and theirs was the first marriage of record in Wasco County, which is the county next door to where I am currently and where I grew up. So it goes deep on that side of the family. But anyways, all of this is to say, I always felt the Irish calling in my heart, and it was legit. So through doing genealogy, I was able to connect with a very very distant cousin in England who was descended from one of Mary Piggott's brothers. His name was Eric Piggott, and he actually had documents that he was able to make really high quality color scans of and send to me. And then he also had pictures of the family homestead in Cork where she grew up. So it was really really cool to put all of that together. And now I'm sorry I've missed a million comments, but I did not intend to talk about that whole story. It just kind of came out of, thank you, Christy. Christy's playlist, her Fiat playlist. So, anyways, there's my Irish connection. Okay, so what I did want to talk about, oh, really quick, I'm just going to show you guys. I finished my shawl, as yet to be named. Maybe you guys could put some suggestions in. So here's the shawl that's going to be for the slow crawl. This will be the shawl you get with your passport. So Zinnia from Berroco, brand new yarn, and Summer Sesame, both brand new yarns, and it is so light and lovely to wear. I love it. Um, it smells good too. I have to send it off now for pattern photography, so I won't have it for a while, but that will be available later. We'll take pre-orders for passports later in the spring if you guys want to participate, because you're able to participate from anywhere. But it's all done. If you have a fun name you think you can think that you should proffer up, I will read through and check because I have yet to figure out a name. Naming's hard for me. I don't do good at the creative naming stuff. I just wanted to show you since I gave you guys a sneak peek when I was working on it. So what I what I'm the main thing to talk about today. Wait, let's see if the tea's sippable. Oh, it's so good. You like how I'm just drawing this out? The main thing I want to talk to you about today is the Afghan course. It is open for registration. So if you had wanted to get in on this previously, now is your chance. And let's just start by taking a peek at my original one. I have it here on my lap, keeping me warm. Here she is in all her glory. You can see it's quite big, roughly, 5+ feet by 4+ feet. Um, so look at all that beautiful cable work. So the Afghan class, if you're not familiar, and I apologize to all of you who already know what this is, because I'm going to run through it again really quick. But this is a class, it is almost 2 years long. It's a 20-month class that I have developed based on the book, The Great American Aran Afghan. So these squares were all designed by individual people who submitted them for a contest that was then um, they were selected and put into a book produced by XRX, and the book is old. It's actually not in print, and I'll get to that in a minute. But this the class takes you through the gamut of basic cables. Look at this. This is providential. This is to some of the most intense advanced cables that you can encounter. And I teach you how to execute all of them. I even teach you how to execute nearly all of them without a cable needle. And I promise you, it is doable and you will succeed. We break it down. We break all of it down. We have demo videos of all the cables from the easy ones all the way up to the hard ones. Demos of how to use to do your cables without a cable needle. And then there's all the other techniques that we cover because these squares are not all just straightforward cast on knit a square. Some of them come from the outside in using circular needles or the inside out. Some of them have center areas and then you pick stitches up or you seam or you even crochet a little decorative something. There's every kind of bauble that you can imagine. Then there's the whole piecing it together. So the techniques in this class cover the gamut. And Z, yes, it is a virtual class. It is taught by me. So here's how it works. If you sign up, there's a couple of introductory chapters that you can work through that talk about yarn selection, swatching, required materials, all of that. And then the first square will release March 1st. And from there, every month, you'll get a new square. And so we work through 18 squares. There's 6 additional squares that we cover less in depth, but by the time you get to those, you have all the skills you need to take my charts and my notes that I give to you and work those squares. Then we cover the border and we cover assembly. And like I said, there's a million skills that you pick up in this. And each month square entails a chart that's created by me specially. I'll come back to that. Notes on everything you should look out for, or just heads up, etc., on how to execute the square, and then a video walkthrough with me where I talk about knitting the square and any techniques that I have additional videos for. So you get all of that in our virtual classroom. Each month, another module is released. There's a technique video chapter where all the technique videos will come in as you need them so that you can easily refer back to them. What else was I just going to say that I was going to? Oh, so we have some free preview lessons. So if you go to the sign up page that Julia dropped into the comments, there you can actually sign up for this course and access the free preview content, which is just 3 lessons. But there's really good information in there. It talks about why taking this class from me is so much easier than just trying to knit your way through the book on your own. And it has to do with the charts. So due to publishing constraints and to not wanting this book to be like 412 pages long, these charts for each square are presented in little bits. And they're like here's chart A and here's chart B and here's chart D. And then it says you knit so much of chart A, knit so much of chart D, whatever. And you have to look around the whole page constantly just to get across one row, because you got to do a little bit of this one, a little bit of this one, and this one, and then you're looking at the chart and then you're reading the key. What I do is I take all of that and I put that into one square chart so that I make all the repeats happen for you. So all you have to do is slap some highlighter tape or a magnet or whatever, and just you read your row. We also, I should have mentioned this, we also extensively cover chart reading. So by the time you are even through square 2, if you've never read charts before, it will be old hat, because that is the way to get through this project. It will make it absolutely so much easier. My charts are color coded for quick visual reference from this cable means this definition here. And so, yeah, so basically so you get a chart, you get notes, and then you get a video walkthrough. Let me see if I can catch up on some of these questions. Registration is open, Danny, until February 15th. So The one thing about the timeline right now is availability of yarn. So we have some issues with mills, etc., from our the manufacturers for the suggested yarns, and so we just want to make sure you're able to get yarn in a timely manner. It does require 4,000 yards of yarn, which is somewhere in the realm of 16 to 18 skeins of the yarns we recommend. Except for wool stock, which is 150-gram skein, it's 11 skeins of wool stock. So if you want to order yarn from us, we have all that information in the free preview section when we talk about the materials required. You get a 10% discount on your yarn and free shipping. And so as long as it's available with the manufacturer, we can get it for you. But you do want to make sure you have your yarn ahead of time so that you don't risk mixed dye lot issues, etc. Mostly we have seen people do this project in one color, but that is not to say that's the only way it's been done. And in fact, you can look it up on Ravelry and you can see a lot of multicolor options. My suggestion to you would be if you wanted to use more than one color, that you keep them within a certain shade so that they blend together well. So it's not like a dark and then a light and etc. Because that's, I think, a little bit more visually jarring with all the work that's going on. Also with the yarn choices, you don't want to get too dark of a color. You can get into some pretty medium tones. Julia has a beautiful medium green Afghan, and you can see all of the work just fine. Anything, in the dark ranges, you probably want to avoid just so that all of the work of the stitch patterns you're doing really can shine through. So the first class launches on March 1st. And registration's open through February 15th or 13th. It's like the end of the second week in February, I believe. Um, 12th. Thank you, John. The whole time there's this comment from Julia. 12th. Registration's open through the 12th. Okay, so the class is 20 months long, and the registration fee is $199, but you can also choose to do it at a $14.99 monthly payment. So you can, if you pay upfront, you save $100, or you can do $15 a month. So there's both of those options if you don't want to have to pay for everything right now. So basically, it starts in March and it ends in January of 22, I believe. Let's see. No, sorry, bad math. I have my timeline right here. Um, September. Oh yeah, it ends in September of 22. So yes. Um, yes, so Christy, the charts are all available in PDF form. And so you can what'll happen is you can download them from the virtual classroom and either print them out for yourself or put them into a Knit Companion if you're a Knit Companion. There is no limit to the number of students because of the virtual way that it's set up. Everyone who signs up is going to be in our Afghan Facebook group so that we can all interact and talk about progress, share pictures, ask questions, etc. And then periodically I'll pop in live to see how everyone's doing, and you guys can ask for more questions. The name of the pattern it's long. It's called the Great American Aran Afghan, often abbreviated GA. So um, the main requirement though to participating is proof of purchase of the book. So you have to show me a receipt that you bought it, or you have to show me a picture of yourself with the book if someone has passed it on to you, etc. The book is out of print, but used copies are available online. I have found them at different places, booksellers. And then also you can buy the entire book in PDF format for like $7.99 from XRX. And we have a link to that in the free preview content where it talks about materials. There's a link to where you can buy the book from XRX yourself. So Christy, and that also would apply to you. You would have the book content available to put into Knit Companion as well. Let's see here. What else? Martha, this is only charts. It's too immense and there is too much going on for written patterns. So it is definitely charts. But I promise you might struggle through the first square as you become familiar with charts, but beyond that, you will be a chart pro because that is something we talk about. Let me see. I'm going to back up. Surfing. Oh, I like the name suggestions. Thank you, Patty. I'll go back and check those out. Julia, thanks for dropping the link. Yeah, it looks like Sue, you are on your last square. Congratulations. So Sue is a current class member and she is about done. That is so fantastic. Oh, yay. I have to say, our current group that is just about finishing up, like we just actually ended class month before last, and they have done so good at staying caught up with their squares. Really, really good. So that is just fantastic. Ah, congratulations, Sue. That's going to feel so good. Um, Julius or Jill saying, yes, you learn a lot. Yes, yes, yes. Julia says it's 100% due to Afghan class that she took previously, that cables are so easy for her and that cable charts are so intuitive. So if that's something you struggle with right now, or if you find that you love cables, but you kind of tend to, hesitate to knit something that's got a lot of cables or got a lot of charts because you don't feel comfortable, I guarantee you this class will get you through that. Shannon, how difficult is it? A motivated advanced beginner could absolutely do it. So here's how we organize the squares. The book just presents them to you willy nilly. We go through, we pick, and we do the squares in order from least intense to most intense so that your skills build as you go. So we start you off with the easiest squares, the most straightforward cables, and then you build into more advanced techniques as you go. Um, Winter surf, Rita, I like that. Sorry, that was the shawl's suggestion. Diane, there are 20 squares in the blanket. So the book offers you 24 squares to choose from in total, and they present to you the blanket with 20 and then two pillows that each use a square on the front and back for the remaining four. Those are optional. So in class, we cover 18 squares with standalone lessons with the video, the chart, and the notes. Then we leave 6 squares at the end that we call optional squares, where you can choose the final two that you want to put in your blanket. And we do that with charts and notes, but we just don't do the in-depth video. The reason for that is they're squares that I think that by that point in the class you're more than capable of just choosing to and finishing them on your own. Then our 19th lesson, our 19th lesson covers all of the 6 remaining squares, and then our last lesson covers assembly. Somewhere in between, it's actually a month and a half into the course, we actually talk about the border because it's totally up to you if you would like to wait and do the border at the end. Totally no problem. But as Miss Julia so smartly figured out, you can actually plan out working along on the border as you work your squares and be done with the border by the time you're done with all of your squares. So we throw the border in for you just a month and a half in. So if you wanted to take advantage of working on it throughout the whole year, 20 months, you can do that as well. So we kind of have an in-between lesson there. That gets plopped in middle of April, basically. Let's see. Is there any other questions? Hi, Kara's one of our Afghan knitters. Um, any other questions about the class that I can answer for anyone? I'll tell you really quick the yarns that we're recommending. It's worsted weight. Some people start out usually thinking that they need to have a superwash yarn, and here's my answer to that. Apologies, phone call. This is a massive project, takes a massive amount of yarn, a massive amount of work, and a massive amount of time. And I just want you to ask yourself if you really think you're going to be putting that in the wash machine. So I personally, no. So I actually have never washed my original one. It looks great. It's fine. I've de-pilled it because I didn't use a great yarn for it, but I don't think using a superwash wool is required. Let's put it this way. Um, there is Berroco Ultra Wool is superwash, and it's one of our recommended yarns. So if you really did feel like you wanted to superwash wool, absolutely, that is a fantastic yarn. It's one of my favorites out of the superwash options. Then we've got Berroco Ultra Alpaca. We have quite a few people who in the last class who used Ultra Alpaca, which has got great stitch definition. It's half wool, half alpaca. It's going to make a very warm and lovely blanket. Um, New yarn, which quickly becoming one of my favorites. You've heard me talk about it a million times. Berroco Lanas. So that's going to be one of my top choices for people is Berroco Lanas. So it's a not superwash Peruvian wool. Very, very good. Forgetting something. Oh, and Stonehenge worsted. So we are really low on stock on that right now, but they are, in fact, I have a stock sheet here. They are starting to get that back into stock gradually. So we might be able to get certain colors of Stonehenge worsted for you. So what is that all? Oh, and then wool stock 150 grams. also could be some stock issues right now with the manufacturer, but if you wanted to use that, wool stock would be amazing and it would feel great. And the 150-gram size skeins mean you need 11. The quantities are all listed there, in the free preview materials if you want to check it out. Berroco chunky is too big. Yes, you want to make sure that it's a worsted weight. The gauge you're looking for is very close to 5 stitches to the inch on a US 7. So, yes, you guys, I love all your questions. Margot, I would just try to probably wash mine in my bathtub and get it to dry sometime in the nice weather season. I'm not a huge fan of dry cleaners. Maybe an eco dry cleaner that uses environmental friendly. My lights just went off. There we go. I got this new Kamala calendar and I hung it up, but it blocks the motion detector for the lights in my office. So I'm just sitting here. Luckily, I have these other counter lights sitting here, and then all the lights go off. I think I need a better solution. Um, so anyways, yeah, an eco dry cleaner maybe. I haven't. I don't know. I am so protective of the stuff that I have put all of my heart and soul into. I would be so scared to turn it over to someone else. I would probably prefer just to wash it in my bathtub, or maybe even just in my machine on the wool cycle if you have that. Like I have a front loader with a wool cycle that actually works really well and is super gentle. So yes. Let's see here. Great. Um, oh, Heidi, I love to hear that. She said this class has really helped her level up on her cable skills and has made the fiad so much easier. I love to hear that. Thank you. Well, Margot, soft is a subjective term because I have zero sensitivity to any kind of wool, so everything is soft. Like I just finished another Afghan that I knit with our last class in Nature Spun from Brown Sheep, which I think some people feel to not be super soft. Out of those choices, I think the Stonehenge is definitely the softest. It's merino. So Stonehenge shepherd's wool is domestic merino wool, whereas all of those others are wool, which basically means they go to wool clearinghouses where all different kinds of wool are just kind of sorted by quality and then, made into what they call wool. Yeah. So, um, non-superwash in the dryer, Z's asking for just a bit and wash on delicate. It just depends on your machines. So definitely, Z, like there are certain really high quality machines that have wool cycles and they are delicate. The temperature is mild. It's meant to not be extreme one way or the other. So yeah, sometimes that's true that you can wash non-superwash things, but you would want to test it maybe on something first in your own washer dryer setup before just throwing a project in. I know my friend Nicole had this amazing European machine set that her wool cycle literally, I think she actually did wash Afghans. These Afghans, she had a non-superwash wool and she washed it in there. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, that Jill says she's knitting with shepherd's wool. It is so soft. It really is. So Christy, yeah, I am working on that. She asked if I had any luck finding some new yarn lines for the shop, and I ordered a new yarn from Monos, new to us. It's called Felice. I think it's only new from last year, so it's not been around too long. And then I ordered some really fun sock yarn. I ordered West Yorkshire Spinners sock yarn. I'm sure some of you know what that is already. I ordered 3 new Regia sock yarns that are new assortments for spring that I'm very excited about. What else did I order yesterday? Oh, Kelborn Woolens has a new yarn. It is so cool. You guys, if you love Scout, you are going to love Camper. Camper is so great. It's so cute. It's mini Scout. It's fingering weight Scout. So I ordered that yesterday. So that's gonna be really fun. Just think of the colorwork sweaters. Think of the colorwork sweaters. I know it's gonna be so fun. Um, Eco wool is too heavy. I know what some of these gauges are, like what some of these squares are, and Eco is too bulky to work well. Yeah. Stonehenge is the softest out of those options that I listed. Berroco Ultra Wool is also soft. That's the washable one. It would also feel really good. I know this. So this camper, it's going to come in the same colors as Scout. So same great, amazing colors. Fingering weight, 50-gram skeins. So it's 200 yards per 50-gram skein. So it's going to be so great for color work because so you can get a bunch of colors um, in more, more usable quantities than 100-gram skeins would have been at fingering weight. So I feel like there's something else I ordered. What am I forgetting? We have more shawl pins coming. If you were looking for the closures for Fiad, we've got the Runa penannular one. That's been the most popular. There are more of those coming and a couple other designs on reorder already. So, oh, you guys, what am I forgetting? This was just yesterday. I have the shortest term memory. Um, well, I'll tell you when it arrives. Sandy's laughing. Sandy's watching. She's the one who took all my orders. She knows what I ordered. Oh, there's more amble. Amble is on reorder because we're getting low on amble. So if you haven't yet tried Fiber Company's newest yarn, amble, it is fantastic. Everybody's loving it. It's a heavy fingering, beautiful for sweaters. It's got mini skeins if you want to do color work, and it is they've got new colors coming, which I ordered. I don't know what they are yet, but I ordered them all. So I think that's later this spring that the new colors will be in. Oh yes, I ordered Tosh. We've got the wool cotton coming, and I got to see the pictures. Do you want to see the pictures really quick? So you kind of get an idea how it takes the color. It's a little more muted. It is beautiful. These are not all the colors I ordered. This is all the colors they've made. I wish this was all the colors I've ordered. I have to now pick, but just seeing it makes me so excited. I don't know how I'm ever going to narrow that down, but more notions. Anything in particular, Margot? Um, What kind of notions are you looking for? Oh my God, you guys, I've talked for half an hour. I am so sorry. Holy smokes. Well, okay. If you have more questions about Afghan class, please feel free to send them to me. You can email me at hello@notanotherhat.com or at customer service at notanotherhat.com, either one of those. I am more than happy to answer your questions. I don't want anyone wondering or holding back because they had something unanswered about the class. So please do feel free to email. I'm happy to answer any of those. And okay, that's it. I gotta let you go. I have blathered on for a long time now. So everybody, have an amazing Tuesday, and I'll see you Friday. Bye.